Robert Chen stood alone in his corner office on the 42nd floor, staring at the city lights below. At 61 years old, he had everything most people dreamed of. $3 billion in the bank, a real estate empire that stretched across 5 countries, his name on buildings in every major city. Awards lined the shelves behind his mahogany desk. Magazine covers called him a genius, a visionary, a self-made titan of industry. But tonight, none of it mattered. He picked up the small cream-colored envelope from his desk. It had been sitting there for 4 days, unopened. He knew what was inside. His daughter's wedding invitation. The courier had delivered it personally, which told him everything he needed to know. She didn't trust him to respond to a simple email or text message. And honestly, could he blame her? Robert couldn't remember the last time he'd had a real conversation with her. Not the quick phone calls about wire transfers or trust fund questions. A real conversation. When had they last laughed together? When had he last asked about her life, her dreams, her fears? He looked at his reflection in the dark glass window. The man staring back looked tired. More than tired, empty. His silver hair was perfectly styled. His custom suit fit like a glove. But his eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of someone who had won every battle but lost the war. His assistant had left hours ago. The entire floor was dark except for his office. It was almost 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and he had nowhere to go. No dinner plans. No friends waiting. Just an empty penthouse apartment 30 blocks north. Robert made a decision. Instead of calling his driver, he would walk home. When was the last time he'd actually walked through the city he'd helped build? He couldn't remember. The autumn air hit him as he stepped onto the street. It was cold, crisp, real. People rushed past him, heading to restaurants, bars, homes filled with warmth and laughter. Nobody recognized him without his entourage. To them, he was just another businessman in an expensive coat. He'd walked about 6 blocks when he saw her. She was sitting against the brick wall of an old bookstore, a cardboard sign propped beside her. But something about her was different from the other homeless people he usually passed without seeing. She looked up as he approached, and her eyes caught him off guard. They were clear, intelligent, sad, but not broken. "Spare some change, sir?" she asked. Her voice surprised him too. It was educated, gentle, not the rough, desperate voice he'd expected. Robert stopped. He usually never stopped. His security team had trained him not to engage, not to pause, not to make eye contact. But tonight something made him look at her. Really look at her. She appeared to be in her early 40s. Her clothes were worn but clean. Her hair was tied back neatly. There was a small stack of library books beside her sleeping bag. One was a thick novel, the kind that required patience and intelligence to read. He reached for his wallet and pulled out several bills. $500, maybe more. He held them out to her. The woman looked at the money. Then she did something completely unexpected. She looked back up at him and shook her head slightly. "That's incredibly generous," she said softly. "But could I ask you for something else instead?" Robert frowned. In his world, everyone wanted money. More connections, more opportunities. That was how the game worked. What else could a homeless woman possibly want? "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice more defensive than he intended. She gestured to the empty piece of cardboard beside her. "Could you just sit with me for a few minutes? Just talk to me like I'm a regular person?" Robert stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "You don't want the money?" "I've learned something living out here," she said, her eyes holding his. "Money can buy food, shelter, survival, but it can't buy what I'm really hungry for. Connection. Being seen. Being heard. I've gone days where people walk past me like I'm invisible. Like I'm not even human." She pointed at the invitation still clutched in his other hand. "I saw you looking at that earlier. You smiled. It was just for a second, but it was real. That smile is worth more to me than any amount of money right now." Robert felt something crack inside his chest. When was the last time someone had asked him for his time instead of his money? When was the last time someone had seen past his net worth to the actual person underneath? Against every logical instinct, against every rule his life had been built on, Robert lowered himself down onto the cold sidewalk beside her. His $5,000 suit touched the dirty concrete. People walking past stared at them with confusion and judgment. The woman extended her hand. "I'm Linda, former college professor, current student of life's harder lessons." He shook her hand. The simple gesture felt strange and oddly profound. Robert, so the invitation? Linda asked gently, as if they were old friends catching up over coffee. Robert looked down at the envelope. My daughter's getting married. We haven't spoken much in years. I'm not sure she even wants me there. But she invited you. She did. Then she wants you there. Even if part of her is angry or hurt, she still left the door open. Linda's voice carried a weight of experience. That takes courage. And love. Robert felt a tightness in his throat. I don't know if I deserve it. I missed everything that mattered. Her school plays. Her graduations. Her first art exhibition. I was always working, always building, always chasing the next deal. And now? Linda asked. Now I have all the success in the world and no one to share it with. The words came out before Robert could stop them. He never admitted weakness, never showed vulnerability. That was rule number 1 in his world. But something about sitting on this cold sidewalk with this woman made the normal rules seem meaningless. Linda nodded slowly. I understand that feeling better than you might think. I wasn't always living on the streets. I had a career, a home, a family. I had a daughter too. The way she said had made Robert look at her more closely. What happened? He asked quietly. Linda took a deep breath, her eyes distant. My husband died suddenly. Heart attack at 41. I fell apart. Everything I'd built my identity on collapsed. I got depressed. Then I started taking pills to cope. Then stronger pills. Then everything unraveled like a sweater with one loose thread. Your daughter? I pushed her away. Told her horrible things when she tried to help me. I thought I was protecting her from watching me destroy myself. I thought I was being noble. Linda's voice cracked. I was just being a coward. And now she's gone. Changed her number, moved away. I've been clean for 9 months trying to get my life back together, but I can't find her. Robert saw tears forming in Linda's eyes, and something inside him shifted. Here was someone who had lost everything, including the one thing that truly mattered. And yet she had asked him to sit with her, to be human with her. How old is your daughter now? Robert asked. She'd be 26. She was studying to be a doctor last I knew. Brilliant girl. Kind heart. Everything I should have protected and cherished. Linda wiped her eyes. Don't make my mistake, Robert. Whatever wall exists between you and your daughter, start breaking it down now, before it's too late, before the door closes completely. Robert looked at the invitation in his hands, and for the first time in years he felt something shift inside him. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe he could still learn to be the father his daughter deserved. Robert sat there on the cold sidewalk, the words Linda had just spoken hanging in the air between them. The city noise faded into the background. Car horns, distant sirens, people laughing as they passed by. None of it seemed real anymore. The only real thing was this moment. This conversation with a stranger who somehow understood his pain better than anyone in his own world. Tell me about her, Linda said gently. Your daughter. What's her name? Victoria, Robert said, and even saying her name felt strange on his tongue. When was the last time he'd said it out loud? She's 28. She's an artist. Paints these incredible abstract pieces that I've only seen in photos on social media. You follow her on social media? Linda asked from a distance. She doesn't know I look at her posts. I never comment or like anything. I just watch her life unfold through a screen like some kind of ghost. Robert let out a bitter laugh. I know more about her life from Instagram than from actually talking to her. Linda was quiet for a moment, then asked, What's stopping you from reaching out? Fear, Robert admitted. What if she doesn't want to hear from me? What if I try to fix things and just make them worse? I'm good at business, at deals, at making money. But being a father? Being a real person? I don't know how to do that anymore. Maybe I never did. A young couple walked past them, the woman glancing down with a mix of pity and confusion. Robert realized how strange they must look. A billionaire in a designer suit sitting on dirty concrete next to a homeless woman, having a heart-to-heart conversation. In his world, this would never happen. Everything was scheduled, controlled, strategic. Can I tell you something? Linda said. When my daughter tried to help me during my worst days, I told her I didn't need her. I told her to focus on her own life, her medical school, her future. I thought I was being selfless. But really, I was just too proud to let her see me broken. What would you do differently? Robert asked. I'd be honest. I'd tell her I was scared and struggling and that I needed help. I'd let her see my As human, not as some perfect parent who always has the answers. Linda pulled her jacket tighter against the cold wind. We think we're protecting our children by hiding our weaknesses, but really we're just teaching them that love is conditional, that it only exists when everything is perfect. Robert thought about all the times he'd canceled plans with Victoria. Her 8th grade piano recital because of a merger meeting, her high school graduation because he was in Singapore closing a deal, her college art show because he was meeting with investors. Every time he'd sent an expensive gift as a substitute for his presence. A new car, a generous check, designer clothes. I bought her a penthouse apartment for her 25th birthday, Robert said quietly. $3 million. She thanked me by text and then didn't speak to me for 6 months. She didn't want an apartment, Linda said. She wanted her father. The simple truth of it hit Robert like a physical blow. All these years he'd thought he was showing love through money, through providing, through making sure she never wanted for anything material. But he'd missed the entire point. I don't know how to be what she needs, Robert said, his voice breaking slightly. Start small, Linda advised. Call her. Not about the wedding, not about money. Just call and ask how she's doing. Ask about her art, ask about her fiancé. Ask about anything that matters to her, not to you. Robert pulled out his phone, then hesitated. What if she doesn't answer? Then you leave a message. And you try again. And again. You show up, Robert. That's what love is. It's showing up even when it's uncomfortable. Even when you might get rejected, even when you don't know the right words to say. They sat in silence for a moment. The temperature was dropping as the night grew darker. Robert noticed Linda shivering slightly despite her jacket. Where do you stay at night? He asked. There's a shelter about 10 blocks from here. They have beds, hot meals. It's not terrible. I've learned to be grateful for small mercies. And during the day, I go to the library mostly. I volunteer there sometimes, helping people with their resumes, tutoring kids and reading. It gives me purpose. Makes me feel human again. Linda smiled sadly. Money isn't what I need most right now. It's dignity. It's being useful. It's remembering who I was before everything fell apart. Robert looked at the money still in his hand, the bills he'd tried to give her earlier. You really don't want this? I didn't say I don't need money, Linda clarified. I said there's something I need more. This conversation, this connection, it's feeding a different kind of hunger. The kind that can't be satisfied with cash. Something shifted in Robert's mind. An idea was forming. Something that felt both crazy and perfectly right at the same time. What if I helped you find your daughter? He asked. Linda turned to look at him, her eyes wide. What? I have resources, private investigators, connections in every industry. If she's in the medical field, there are databases, licensing boards, hospital networks. I could help you track her down. Why would you do that? Linda asked, her voice suspicious now. You don't even know me. Because maybe if I help you reconnect with your daughter, I'll remember how to reconnect with mine, Robert said honestly. And because for the first time in years, I want to do something that actually matters, something that isn't about money or power or building another tower with my name on it. Linda's eyes filled with tears again. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me help you, but I can't pay you back. I have nothing to offer. You've already given me something valuable, Robert said. You've reminded me what it means to be human. To be vulnerable. To admit I'm lost and scared. That's worth more than any business deal I've ever closed. Linda wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Okay, yes, I want to find her. I want to tell her I'm sorry. I want to try to make things right even if it's too late. Robert stood up, his knees protesting after sitting on the cold ground. He offered his hand to help Linda up. Tell me everything you know about her. Full name, last known location where she was studying. We'll start there. Over the next hour, sitting in a nearby coffee shop that Robert insisted on taking her to, Linda told him everything. Her daughter's name was Christina. She'd been studying at a medical school on the East Coast. She'd always wanted to be a pediatrician because she loved working with children. She played violin. She loved hiking. She had a birthmark on her left shoulder shaped like a butterfly. Robert typed notes into his phone, his business mind already strategizing, planning, organizing. But this time it felt different. This time he wasn't planning a hostile takeover or a merger. He was planning something real, something that mattered. I'll have my investigators start first thing Monday morning, Robert said. But Linda, I need you to be prepared. She might not want to see you. She might be angry. This might not have the happy ending you're hoping for. I know. Linda said quietly. But at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I didn't give up on her completely. As Robert walked Linda back toward the shelter that night, he made another decision. He pulled out his phone and before he could talk himself out of it, he called Victoria. It rang 4 times. He was about to hang up when he heard her voice. "Dad?" She sounded surprised, cautious. "Hi, sweetheart," Robert said, his voice rough with emotion. "I know it's late. I just wanted to call and say I got your invitation, and I want to come to your wedding, if you still want me there." There was a long pause. Then Victoria said, "Of course I want you there, Dad. You're my father." "I want to do better," Robert continued, the words tumbling out. "I want to be more than just a name on a check. I want to know you. Really know you. Your art, your life, your dreams. I've wasted so many years. I don't want to waste any more." Another pause. Then softly, "I'd like that, Dad. I'd really like that." They talked for 20 minutes. It was awkward and stilted at times, but it was real. When Robert finally hung up, he realized he was crying. Standing on a street corner at 10 o'clock at night, tears running down his face. Linda squeezed his arm. "See, you did it. You showed up." And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Robert felt like maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to become the person he should have been all along. The next morning, Robert woke up feeling different. For the first time in decades, he wasn't thinking about stock prices or board meetings. He was thinking about 2 daughters. One was his own, and one belonged to a woman he'd met on a sidewalk just 12 hours ago. He called his private investigator before he even got out of bed. Thomas had worked for him for 15 years, tracking down investment opportunities, doing background checks on potential business partners, finding information that others couldn't. But this assignment was different. "I need you to find someone," Robert said. "A young woman, probably around 26 or 27. Her name is Christina Hayes. Last known location was medical school on the East Coast, but that was several years ago. She's likely a doctor now, maybe a resident." "What's this about, boss?" Thomas asked. "Is she connected to a business deal?" "No," Robert said simply. "This one's personal. And Thomas, I need you to be discreet. This woman's mother is trying to reconnect with her. I want to help make that happen." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "You feeling okay, Robert?" "This doesn't sound like you." Robert smiled. "Maybe I'm finally starting to become myself. Just find her, Thomas. And fast." After hanging up, Robert did something else unusual. He cleared his entire schedule for the week. His assistant almost dropped her phone when he told her. "Cancel everything?" she repeated. "But you have the investor meeting on Tuesday, the press conference on Wednesday, and the charity gala on Friday." "Cancel it all," Robert said firmly. "Or reschedule. I have more important things to do." That afternoon, Robert met Linda at the same coffee shop. She looked different in daylight. Tired, yes, but there was hope in her eyes now. Hope that hadn't been there the night before. "I've been thinking," Linda said as they sat down. "What if we do find Christina and she slams the door in my face? What if she's moved on and doesn't want me back in her life? Then at least you'll know," Robert said. "Right now you're living in uncertainty. Not knowing is sometimes worse than knowing the painful truth. At least with truth you can start to heal." Linda nodded slowly. "You're right. I just keep playing out all these scenarios in my head. What I'll say, how she'll react. I've practiced 1,000 apologies. Don't practice," Robert advised. "Just be honest. Tell her what's in your heart. That's all any of us can do." He was learning this lesson himself. Over the past few days, he'd been calling Victoria every evening. Not long calls, just 15 or 20 minutes. But they were real conversations. He asked about her paintings, her fiancé, her favorite coffee shop. Small things that added up to something bigger. Last night, Victoria had told him about a painting she was working on. "It's about absence," she'd said. "About the empty spaces we carry inside us." Robert had understood exactly what she meant. "I've been carrying a lot of empty spaces too," he'd told her. "I'm trying to fill them now. Better late than never, I hope." Victoria had been quiet for a moment, then said, "I'm glad you're trying. Yeah, that means something." Now, sitting across from Linda, Robert realized they were both on parallel journeys. 2 parents trying to bridge the gaps they'd created with their children. 2 people learning that success and money meant nothing without love and connection. "I want to show you something," Robert said, pulling out his phone. He showed Linda his recent text thread with Victoria. Simple messages. "Good morning, sweetheart. Thinking of you. Proud of you. Nothing profound but consistent. This is beautiful, Linda said, her voice emotional. You're really doing it. You're showing up. I'm trying, Robert said. It feels awkward. Like learning to walk again after being paralyzed for years. But it also feels right. His phone rang. It was Thomas. I found her, the investigator said without preamble. Christina Hayes, 27 years old, pediatric resident at Metropolitan Children's Hospital. She's in her second year of residency. No husband, no kids. Lives alone in a small apartment near the hospital. Robert's heart started pounding. He looked at Linda, whose eyes were wide with anticipation. Are you sure it's her? Robert asked, positive. I've got photos, address, work schedule, everything. Want me to send it over? Yes, send everything. When Robert hung up, Linda was trembling. He found her? He found her, Robert confirmed. She's a pediatric resident. Just like you said she wanted to be. She's helping children, Linda. She became exactly who she dreamed of becoming. Linda started crying. Not sad tears, but tears of relief, pride, and fear all mixed together. She did it. She made it without me. But imagine how much it would mean to her to have you back in her life now, Robert said gently. You can't change the past, Linda, but you can be part of her future. Over the next few days, Robert helped Linda prepare. He bought her new clothes, not expensive designer things, but nice, clean, respectable outfits. He arranged for her to get a haircut. He helped her find temporary housing in a small hotel near the hospital where Christina worked. But more than that, they talked. For hours and hours, they talked about fear and regret and hope, about what it means to be a parent, about how to say sorry when sorry seems too small a word for all the pain caused. What if I freeze up? Linda asked the night before they were scheduled to go see Christina. What if I get there and can't find the words? Then start with the truth, Robert said. Tell her you love her. Tell her you're sorry. Tell her you've been sick but you're getting better. Tell her you've thought about her every single day. Linda wiped her eyes. How did you get so wise about this? You're figuring out your own daughter's situation. Maybe that's exactly why I understand, Robert said. We're both learning that pride and fear have stolen years from us. Years we can't get back. But we can start today. Right now. That's what matters. That evening, Robert had dinner with Victoria for the first time in 3 years. Not a quick lunch between meetings, but a real dinner. Just the two of them at a quiet restaurant. Victoria looked beautiful. She wore a simple dress and had her hair down. She looked nervous, which made Robert realize she was just as scared as he was. Thank you for meeting me, Robert said. Thank you for asking, Victoria replied. Dad, these phone calls we've been having, they mean a lot to me. They mean everything to me, Robert said. Victoria, I need to tell you something. I met someone recently who changed my perspective on everything. A woman who reminded me what really matters in life. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Are you seeing someone? Robert laughed. No. It's not like that. She's a friend who needed help. And in helping her, I realized how much help I needed myself. She's trying to reconnect with her daughter after years apart. Watching her struggle with that fear and hope made me realize I was doing the same thing. Running from you because I was afraid you didn't want me around. Dad, I've always wanted you around, Victoria said, her eyes filling with tears. I just wanted the real you, not the busy executive who sends checks and gifts. I wanted my father. The person. Even if that person is flawed and makes mistakes. I've made so many mistakes, Robert said, his own voice breaking. I missed so much of your life. I can't fix that, but I want to be there for everything going forward. Your wedding, your career, your life, whatever you'll let me be part of. Victoria reached across the table and took his hand. I want that too, Dad, I really do. They spent 3 hours at that restaurant talking about everything. Her childhood memories, both good and bad. Her art and what it meant to her. Her fiancé and their plans for the future. Robert listened, really listened in a way he'd never done before. When they finally left, Victoria hugged him tight. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart, Robert said. More than you'll ever know. As he drove home that night, Robert thought about Linda. Tomorrow was her day. Tomorrow she would face her daughter and either begin healing or learn to live with closure. Either way, she was being brave. She was showing up, and so was he. Finally, after all these years, he was showing up. His phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Thank you for tonight. It felt like having my dad back. Robert smiled through his tears. Sometimes the most valuable things in life don't cost anything at all. They just require courage, honesty, and the willingness to be vulnerable. He texted back, "Thank you for giving me another chance. I won't waste it," and he meant it. Every word. The hospital cafeteria was nothing like Robert had imagined. It wasn't sterile and cold. It was filled with life. Doctors in scrubs grabbing quick meals. Families clustered around tables, some laughing, some crying. The smell of coffee and institutional food hung in the air. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Linda sat frozen in her chair, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she hadn't touched. It had gone cold 20 minutes ago. Robert sat beside her, his presence a quiet anchor in her storm of emotions. "She gets off shift in 10 minutes, Linda whispered for the 5th time. "Thomas confirmed she'd be coming through here." "I know," Robert said gently. "Are you ready?" "No, yes, I don't know." Linda's voice shook. "What if she sees me and just walks away? What if she's built a life where I don't exist anymore?" "Then you'll know you tried," Robert reminded her. "That's all we can do, Linda, show up and try." Robert's own phone had been buzzing all morning with messages from Victoria. She knew where he was and what he was doing. After their dinner, he'd told her everything about Linda and Christina. Victoria had been moved by the story. "Tell her I'm rooting for her," Victoria had texted that morning. "And Dad, I'm proud of you for helping her." Those words had meant more to Robert than any business award he'd ever received. The cafeteria doors swung open. A young woman in scrubs walked in, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She had a stethoscope around her neck and exhaustion written across her face, but even tired, she was beautiful. She had Linda's eyes, the same intelligent, thoughtful gaze. Linda gasped. "That's her. That's my Christina." Robert watched as Christina headed toward the coffee station, completely unaware that her mother was sitting 30 feet away. She moved with purpose, with confidence. This was someone who had built a life, who had survived, who had become exactly who she wanted to be. "Go," Robert urged quietly. "Linda, go talk to her." But Linda couldn't move. She was paralyzed, watching her daughter like she was seeing a ghost. Tears streamed down her face. Christina got her coffee and turned toward the exit. In seconds, she would be gone. "Linda," Robert said more firmly, "you'll regret it if you don't try, trust me. I know what regret feels like." Something in his words broke through Linda's fear. She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. The sound made several people look up, including Christina. For a moment, mother and daughter locked eyes across the crowded cafeteria. Time seemed to stop. Robert held his breath. Christina's face went through a series of emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, shock, disbelief. Her coffee cup slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a crash. Hot liquid splashed across the tile, but she didn't seem to notice. "Mom?" The word came out broken, barely audible. Linda took a step forward, then another. "Christina, baby, it's me." The cafeteria had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now, sensing something profound was happening. But neither Linda nor Christina seemed aware of the audience. "Is it really you?" Christina's voice was stronger now, but shaking. "Mom, I thought... I looked for you everywhere. I hired people to find you. I thought you were dead," Linda finished, her voice cracking. "I almost was. I was lost, Christina. Lost in darkness and pain and shame. But I'm here now. I'm here and I'm sober and I'm so sorry." Robert expected anger. He expected Christina to yell, to rage, to tell her mother it was too late. He'd prepared himself to comfort Linda through the rejection. But what happened next surprised him completely. Christina crossed the cafeteria in quick strides and threw her arms around her mother. "I've missed you so much," she sobbed into Linda's shoulder. "I've missed you every single day." Linda collapsed into her daughter's embrace, both of them shaking with sobs. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For pushing you away. For the things I said. For not being strong enough to accept your help. You're here now," Christina kept repeating. "You're alive. You're here. That's what matters." Robert turned away to give them privacy, his own eyes burning with tears. Around them, the cafeteria had erupted in quiet emotion. Nurses were wiping their eyes. A doctor stood watching with his hand over his heart. Even the cafeteria workers had stopped what they were doing. This was what it looked like when love survived everything thrown at it, when forgiveness was bigger than hurt, when the door that seemed closed forever suddenly opened wide. After several minutes, Christina pulled back slightly, keeping her hands on her mother's arms like she was afraid Linda might disappear. "Where have you been? How did you find me? Are you okay?" "I'm getting there," Linda said, wiping her face. "I've been in shelters on the streets fighting every day to get clean and stay clean. And I found you because of him." She gestured to Robert, who had been trying to fade into the background. Christina turned to look at him for the first time. "Who are you?" she asked, not unkindly. "Just someone who wanted to help," Robert said. "Your mother and I met by chance. She asked me for something I didn't know I needed to give. And in helping her find you, I remembered how to find my own daughter." Christina looked between them, understanding dawning. "You helped her?" "We helped each other," Robert corrected. "She reminded me what really matters in life. I just provided some resources to bring you two back together." Christina walked over and, to Robert's surprise, hugged him too. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for bringing my mom back to me." When she stepped back, she looked at Linda again, really studying her. "You look different, thinner, older, but your eyes, they're clear again, like they used to be." 9 months sober, Linda said with quiet pride. "Taking it one day at a time. I'm living at a shelter, doing odd jobs, trying to rebuild my life piece by piece. I know I can't undo the past. I know I hurt you terribly, but I want a chance to be part of your future, if you'll let me." Christina's professional composure finally cracked completely. "Mom, I never stopped wanting you in my life. Even when I was angry, even when I changed my number because I couldn't watch you destroy yourself anymore, I never stopped hoping you'd get better. I became a pediatrician because you always told me I was good with kids. Every patient I help, I think of you. You're the reason I do this." Linda started crying again, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief. "I'm so proud of you, baby. You did all of this without me. You're amazing." "I did it because of you," Christina corrected. "You taught me to be strong, to care about others, to fight for what matters. Those lessons didn't disappear just because you were struggling." They sat down together at a table, and Christina immediately began making plans. "You can't stay at a shelter, Mom. I have a spare room. It's small, but it's yours if you want it. We can figure out the rest as we go." "I don't want to be a burden," Linda protested. "You have your career, your life." "You're my mother," Christina said firmly. "You're not a burden. You're family, and family shows up for each other. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Robert watched them make plans, their heads bent together, hands clasped. He thought about Victoria, about their dinner, about the wedding coming up. He thought about all the years he'd wasted being too proud, too busy, too afraid to be vulnerable. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "How did it go?" Robert typed back, "Beautiful. They're together." She asked for a hug, and she got so much more. Victoria responded immediately. "That's what love is supposed to be, Dad. I'm glad you're learning that too." He smiled and typed, "Your wedding. I want to walk you down that aisle. Not as the billionaire who pays for everything, but as your dad. Just your dad. Is that okay?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Finally. That's all I've ever wanted. Just my dad showing up and being present. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. More than all the money in the world." As Robert prepared to leave the hospital, giving Linda and Christina space to reconnect properly, Christina stopped him. "Thank you again," she said. "I don't know what happened between you two, but you gave me back my mother. I'll never forget that." "Your mother gave me something too," Robert said. "She reminded me that sometimes the most valuable thing we can offer isn't money or power. It's presence. It's connection. It's being willing to be human with each other." Christina smiled. "She always was the best teacher I ever had." Robert walked out of the hospital into the afternoon sunlight feeling lighter than he had in years. 2 daughters had their mothers back. 2 mothers had their daughters. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a billionaire had learned that the richest thing in the world was love freely given. His phone rang. It was Victoria. "Dad, can we have lunch tomorrow? Just the 2 of us? I want to talk about the wedding. And maybe look at some of my new paintings together?" "I'd love that," Robert said, his voice full of emotion. "I'll be there. I promise," and this time he knew he would keep that promise, because he'd finally learned what really mattered. 3 months had passed since that day in the hospital cafeteria. 3 months that had changed everything. Robert stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting his tie. But this wasn't just any business meeting. Today was Victoria's wedding day, and his hands were shaking so badly he could barely get the knot right. "Dad, you okay in there?" Victoria's voice came through the door, followed by a gentle knock. He opened the door to find his daughter standing there in her wedding dress. She was absolutely stunning. The dress was simple and elegant, and she wore flowers in her hair. But what took his breath away wasn't the dress or the styling. It was the smile on her face, the genuine joy in her eyes. "You look beautiful," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "You look nervous," Victoria teased. "It's just a walk down the aisle, Dad. We've been practicing." "I know," Robert said. "But it's more than that. It's everything. 3 months ago, I didn't think I'd be here. I didn't think I deserved to be here." Victoria took his hands in hers. "But you are here. You've been here every step of the way. The dress shopping, the cake tasting, the venue planning. You even helped address the invitations. You showed up, Dad. That's what matters." Robert thought back over the past 3 months. The weekly dinners with Victoria and her fiancé. The visits to her art studio where she'd explained each painting to him with patience and passion. The late-night phone calls where they'd talked about everything and nothing. The gradual rebuilding of trust, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. "I don't want to mess this up," Robert admitted. "Walking you down that aisle is the most important thing I've ever done." "You won't mess it up," Victoria assured him. "Just be with me. Be present. That's all I need." There was another knock on the door. Linda peeked her head in, looking radiant in a simple blue dress. "Sorry to interrupt, but they're ready for you two." Over the past 3 months, Linda had become part of Robert's life in an unexpected way. She'd moved in with Christina, was working part-time at the library again, and had even started teaching a few classes at the community college. But more than that, she and Robert had maintained their friendship. They met for coffee every week. Two people who'd found each other at rock bottom and climbed back up together. "Linda, you made it," Victoria said warmly. She'd insisted on inviting Linda to the wedding after hearing the whole story. "Wouldn't miss it," Linda said, smiling. "Christina's here too." "She's saving us seats," Robert's chest tightened with emotion. A few months ago, he'd been completely alone. Now he had his daughter back, new friends, and a life that felt real instead of empty. The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden, simple and intimate. About 50 people, mostly Victoria's friends and her fiancé's family. Robert had wanted to pay for something grand, some elaborate celebration, but Victoria had gently refused. "I don't need expensive, Dad," she'd said. "I just need meaningful." As Robert and Victoria stood at the entrance to the garden waiting for their cue, he looked down at her. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For leaving that door open even when I didn't deserve it. For giving me a second chance to be your father." Victoria's eyes glistened with tears. "You're my dad. That door was never fully closed. It was just waiting for you to walk through it." The music started. A gentle piano melody filled the air. Victoria squeezed his arm. "Ready?" "Ready," Robert said. They walked slowly down the aisle together. Robert saw Linda and Christina sitting together in the third row, both of them wiping tears from their eyes. He saw Victoria's friends, people who'd supported her through all the years he'd been absent. He saw her fiancé waiting at the altar, looking at Victoria like she was the most precious thing in the world, and he realized something profound. This moment, this simple walk down a garden path, was worth more than every business deal he'd ever closed, more than every building with his name on it, more than the billions in his bank account. When they reached the altar, the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" Robert had practiced his line. Just 2 words, "I do." But when he opened his mouth, different words came out. "Her mother and I do," he said, his voice carrying across the garden. "And we couldn't be more proud of the woman she's become." Victoria turned to look at him, tears streaming down her face. She threw her arms around him and he held her tight, this daughter he'd almost lost forever. "I love you, Dad," she whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart," he whispered back. "Thank you for teaching me what really matters." The ceremony was beautiful. Simple vows, genuine love, friends and family celebrating 2 people committing to each other. Robert sat in the front row and actually watched. He didn't check his phone once, didn't think about work, didn't mentally prepare for his next meeting. He was just present, fully present for the first time in decades. At the reception, Robert found himself standing with Linda and Christina, watching Victoria and her new husband dance. She's radiant, Linda observed. You did good, Robert. We both did, Robert said. Look at Christina. She's thriving. You raised an incredible woman, Christina blushed. I had a good teacher. Even when times were hard, Mom taught me what really mattered. Compassion, resilience, love. Linda squeezed her daughter's hand. They'd been inseparable for the past 3 months, making up for lost time. Christina had helped her mother get back on her feet, and Linda had been there for Christina's long shifts, cooking meals, providing emotional support, being the mother she'd always wanted to be. Can I tell you something? Robert said to both of them. That night when I met you, Linda, I was at my lowest point. I had everything the world says matters and nothing that actually does. You asked me for a hug instead of money, and it changed my life. I was desperate for human connection, Linda admitted. I'd gone so long being invisible, being treated like I wasn't human. I needed someone to see me. And you did. You saved each other, Christina said simply. You reminded each other what it means to be human, what it means to love and be loved. Victoria came over, slightly out of breath from dancing. What are you all talking about over here so seriously? Just about how lucky we all are, Robert said, pulling his daughter into a hug. How lucky I am to have you back in my life. I'm lucky too, Dad, Victoria said. The past 3 months with you have been everything I always wished for. You've been present, engaged, interested in my life. You've been my dad. Later that evening, as the reception wound down, Robert stood alone for a moment, looking up at the stars. He thought about the man he'd been 3 months ago. Empty. Alone. Chasing success but running from life. He thought about Linda, sitting on that cold sidewalk, asking for connection instead of cash. That simple request had cracked open something in him that he didn't even know was broken. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. Board meeting moved to next week. They're asking if you'll be there. Robert looked at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back, I'll let you know. I have more important priorities right now. He deleted the last sentence and rewrote it. Family comes first. We'll figure out the rest. Victoria appeared beside him. Everything okay? Everything's perfect, Robert said honestly. For the first time in my life, everything is exactly as it should be. You know what I realized? Victoria said, leaning against him. All those years I thought you chose work over me. But really, you'd just forgotten how to choose at all. You were on autopilot, chasing something you thought would make you happy. And it never did, Robert admitted. But you're different now. I can see it. Everyone can see it. I met someone who reminded me that the most valuable thing we can give each other isn't money or gifts or grand gestures. It's presence. It's showing up. It's being willing to be vulnerable and real and human. Victoria smiled. I'm glad you learned that lesson, Dad. Even if it took you 61 years. Robert laughed, and it felt good. Real laughter, not the polite chuckle he used in business meetings. Better late than never, right? Much better late than never. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the last few guests dance under the string lights. Linda and Christina were dancing together, laughing about something. Friends were sharing stories and making toasts. Love and joy filled the air. Dad, Victoria said quietly, thank you for being here. Not just today, but really being here, present, available, real. Thank you for giving me the chance, Robert said. I don't deserve you, but I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of your love. You already are, Victoria said. Love isn't about being worthy. It's about being human, and you're finally letting yourself be human again. As Robert drove home that night, he didn't go to his empty penthouse. Instead, he stopped at a 24-hour flower shop. He bought a simple bouquet and drove to Linda's apartment. She answered the door in her pajamas, surprised. Robert, is everything okay? Everything's wonderful, he said, handing her the flowers. I just wanted to say thank you for asking for a hug instead of money, for reminding me what it means to truly live. You gave me back my daughter. You gave me back myself. Linda's eyes filled with tears. We gave each other a second chance. Both of us. Both of us, Robert agreed. As he drove home, Robert realized something profound. He'd spent his entire life measuring success in dollars and deals. But real wealth wasn't in bank accounts or real estate empires. Real wealth was in moments of connection, in forgiveness, in second chances, in being present for the people who matter. He'd finally learned what his daughter had been trying to tell him all along. Love isn't bought. It's given freely, and the only price is vulnerability, presence, and the courage to show up as your true self. Robert smiled as he pulled into his building. He was 61 years old, and he was just beginning to understand what it meant to be truly rich.